Stepping forward. What's next for Texas business? Today's live event is session 3 in our 4-part series, and today it's a discussion about what's next for Texas ports and shipping. My name is Donna Bragg. I'm CEO publisher of Texas CEO Magazine. We're very happy to partner today with Regions Bank experts for this very important discussion. It affects all of us, as we've been discussing already. First, some introductions. John Stacy is the Houston Market President for Regions Bank. John has spent the past 30 years with some of the world's largest financial firms. He holds a bachelor's degree in business finance from the University of North Texas, FINRA Series 7, 63, and 79 licenses, and has actively participated in many reputable executive leadership programs. John, say hi to everybody.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Yes. John provides commercial banking services and products to clients of diversified industries throughout Houston, and he and his team are also involved with several organizations that promote workforce development, financial education, economic development in and around the greater Houston area. And you're pretty passionate, John, about ensuring that Regions executes its civic commitment to support communities and organizations with volunteerism.
I am, very much so.
Yes. And Philip Ugalde is a Senior VP Relationship Manager with Regions Commercial Banking segment. He is responsible for new business development and portfolio growth. He's establishing and cultivating referral partner relationships and also expanding the bank's brand awareness. Philip, hello.
Everybody.
Philip is a seasoned commercial banking and finance professional. He's maintained a background in business development, finance analysis, client management, and operations assessment for more than 28 years. And prior to joining Regions in April of 2015, he worked with various banks with responsibilities that included servicing and growing commercial business relationships and acquiring commercial accounts and managing staff. And he received a BA from the University of Texas at Austin. Hook 'em horns, Philip.
That's right.
So let's get started. We have a fascinating conversation and lots of questions today. Philip, if you want to start, we were talking about supply chain issues and those that continue to plague our economy. The shipping industry obviously being thrust into the limelight like never before. What do these issues mean globally, especially for the shipping industry in 2022 and for Houston specifically?
Well, clearly, it's a big problem. As I'm sure we've all noticed. Certainly, I have. Shopping online, groceries, and it says, these products may not be available. So, I mean, this is a major problem. Everybody's talking about it. I've got a 15-year-old that I'm thinking about getting a car for him sometime soon. And, as we all know, the car prices are insane. Again, there's so many things, this ripple effect that's really affecting everything. And so what happened is, clearly with COVID, a lot of our habits have changed. And so this demand has really been pushing a lot of strain all throughout the production infrastructure. And so there are just too many factors. Strong demand, labor issues. When you think about what we've experienced with COVID, people are missing work because of COVID in a lot of different places, certainly at the ports, on ships, truckers. Again, everybody who's transporting goods from point A to Z, everything else like that. Thinking about the transportation issues with the demand that we've been facing, their log jams throughout the rail systems. Then with all these containers that are coming in from offshore, they're limited chassis, the metal frames that the containers go on that get hooked up to the trucks that transport them all around. Again, like I said, from point A to point Z, getting out of the ports and into their final destination. So it's just in general a lot of infrastructure problems have been lingering. So it's something that's clearly not going to go away tomorrow, just because of the deep infrastructure through there.
John, did you have any additional thoughts on that?
No, that's a great coverage of that topic, Philip. The only thing I might add is related to the chassis and the trucks. During the pandemic, everything kind of came to a standstill, and a lot of the truck drivers went and started doing other things. And so there's a shortage of truck drivers right now. That's also causing some of this backup and bottlenecking of delivering goods and services.
Do you guys expect market conditions in ports or in shipping to normalize in the next coming months? And if so, why or why not?
Certainly not. And it's interesting, saying the word normalize, because again, with the expansion of e-commerce, not sure if it's ever going to be again what normal may have looked like to a lot of us. But from a lot of the executives that I've talked to over time, there's just what I've started to talk about before, just the deep-rooted issues all throughout the supply chain. Those are not going to go away tomorrow. John referenced the labor force. I mean, we've gotta add more drivers. There just have to. There isn't as much of the younger folks coming into the industry. They're doing other things. There's wage inflation, and so that's creating I think we mentioned just pandemic and things of that nature. So no, it's not going to go away. Anytime soon. A lot of people are forecasting it's going to bleed into sometime in 2023. It will get better. And the reasons why folks think it's going to get better is because, again, at some point this pandemic has to ease. And then secondly, again, we'll finally be able to get the type of volume that we need on the chassis, and finally we'll be able to work things through the system, and we'll be able to adapt. But again, a lot of the experts are saying it's probably not going to happen until sometime.
Yeah. So you mentioned e-commerce, and to what extent has that increase in e-commerce contributed to the increase in shipping traffic, and then how are the ports going to have to deal with all of this?
It's the demand. I think all three of us on here, and certainly everybody out there, we just do things differently. I mean, I joke around with some folks. I was joking that when I found out how to do this webinar, I don't have any type of lighting, so I ordered the light off of Amazon. Boom, it was here the next day. And so it's that demand, and over time we have outsourced. The United States has outsourced a lot of different things, and so a lot of the product that we buy on Amazon or online, a lot of our retail habits changed during the pandemic. A lot of places closed down, and they pushed out their online ordering processes, and so again, it's created a lot of demand. And so with that demand, you've got a lot more ships and a lot more traffic coming into ports. Imports are up. And so, again, that's just taking longer for the ships to unload. It's taking longer for that traffic to get out of the ports and get distributed throughout our infrastructure around our country. So, it's created a lot of problems. Now, how are the ports trying to solve that? Well, a number of different things. Some people on here may have heard, President Biden, I think it was sometime in the fourth quarter, mandated that the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach stay open 24 hours. A lot of ports are doing that. Port of Houston, effective January 31st, expanded their hours in their container terminals from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that's helping, expanding the hours, hopefully spending more time trying to get things through. Long Beach is also charging $100, basically charging a fine, $100 for each container that's staying on property longer than 9-10 days. So those are the types of things that the ports are trying to do to encourage getting through these bottlenecks and helping with some of this e-commerce stuff.
And given Houston's unique role as a hub for oil and gas, how will trends in that industry impact the shipping activity into the Port of Houston?
Well, currently import and export volumes in Houston are very high, especially related to oil and gas. Right now, I think statistically about 74% of the port volume, total, imports and exports are liquid bulk. A large part of that liquid bulk is related to petrochemical fluids. Mm-hmm. Then, we're big in container volume too, and 43% of the container traffic to exports are plastic pellets. Again, petrochemical related. So the oil and gas industry is very, very important, and will continue to be important to the volumes that are coming in and going out. Coming in, it's a lot of machinery and equipment to support some of the production and development throughout the shale areas, as well as other areas of energy production. So mm-hmm. It's not going away anytime soon.
John, do you agree? Do you expect the oil and gas industry is having a big effect on the ports, and the changes that they're making, do you expect those changes to be permanent?
Donna, I have not been able to hear anything Philip is saying, so I don't I don't want to repeat anything he may have said.
Well, I'll ask you a question then. To what extent will higher interest rates affect the business in terms of borrowing?
Well, anytime borrowing costs go up, that reduces your profitability unless you're able to charge much higher prices, which we're seeing a lot of higher prices now throughout just about everything you buy. But it will impact it just because the cost of doing business will be more expensive. Higher interest rates are never great. I think there's a nice balance there, but everybody's gotten so used to low interest rates from, a lot of people may not have been able to afford a home, for example, had interest rates been higher, but with rates being where they've been, mortgage rates, I think you've had much more home ownership than you would have seen otherwise.
Mhm. And I guess I should point out that we are broadcasting this event during another winter weather surprise in Texas in February. So we're hoping everyone is able to hear everyone and see everyone. There may be some technical glitches due to weather and ice, but we hope we can see you and hear you, John. If you can't hear Philip, I'll pass along anything he says that's important or good. Philip, do you have anything good to say?
I was about to say, maybe I'll be careful what I say.
All right, so let's talk about, Philip, about the types of work that you do related to ports and business in and around Houston.
Sure, no, definitely. So, having grown up here in Houston and spent all 29 years of my career here, I know how important the port and the related industry is to our economy. The infrastructure here again is key. The thing that I think is really neat is I use the term food chain. It's the ships that come in and go out, and all the people that pull things off of the ships and put them in warehouses or put them on top of the chassis. And so there's just the rail and you mentioned the trucking and the logistics associated with the warehouses. So there's just so much to do. So what do I do is, I try to get out there in the market and talk to executives and get involved within the industry and some of the different events and organizations and really try to learn as much as I can about the industry, and then just sit down with business owners and figure out, okay, what can I do to be a resource, and how can I help you access capital so that you can purchase equipment, you can finance and build your warehouse or expand your fabrication facility, or just manage your working capital to be able to operate more effectively, more efficiently, and then partner with other folks that are on the team with me and John, our treasury management partners that use technology and come in and give advice and guidance on more efficient, more effective ways to collect cash and to disperse proceeds and just get better visibility on a company's cash flow. So a lot of those things working in concert, again, for trucking, rail, maritime, logistics, a lot of those different industries.
Based on all of those conversations and all of that experience with the various business owners, do you have a feeling, are companies optimistic? Are they pessimistic? Are they in between? Where do they think the business is headed?
Sure. Again, like I said, getting out there and talking to people on a regular basis kind of runs the gamut of what I hear. But really, a lot of the folks, for the most part, have been optimistic. Demand has been high for a lot of people. A lot of people are coming off of a good, strong 2021 and are still seeing some demand, good, strong demand for 2022. So generally optimistic, have some clarity on continued business growth and continued activities through, I'd say, first half into the third quarter of 2022. Now there is some pessimism or concern, I should say, about, we've got wage inflation. We have overall inflation outside of higher labor costs, and a little bit of the uncertainty in the, as John referenced. I mean, we're in an increasing interest rate environment right now. So again, those are the types of factors that could put a damper on activity. So I think there's cautious optimism for the most part, with also some I think some reality filling in of, let's be careful and figure out let's not get too far over our skis.
Right. John, did you hear any of that?
I did not.
Oh, it was good. Would be proud. Yeah. So I'll ask you both. And John, let's start with you. How have recent market conditions impacted the way that ports and shipping businesses seek financing? For example, are there cash flow considerations that are unique to this business versus other industries?
I think Philip may be the best to answer that question, Donna, because he's dealing with companies daily, that are doing business down there. So I may lob that over to Philip.
All right, Philip?
Yeah, no, happy to. And so, kind of what I alluded to before, I mean, a lot of these companies are pretty capital intensive. You've got companies that, again, if you're going to pull those containers off ships, you need cranes, you need forklifts, lift trucks, you need that stuff to put it in the warehouses. And so a lot of them are pretty capital intensive. And so with the market conditions still being strong, excuse me, folks still need access to capital, and loan volume has still been pretty good due to inflation. Some executives have talked about how they plan to buy more inventory maybe than they need, or plan to, let's say maybe they're forecasting an equipment need later this year, but maybe they'll put an order in now because of the concerns of the rising prices. And 6 months from now, maybe that piece of equipment will be 20%, 30% higher. Maybe that inventory will be 20 or 30% higher. So that has stimulated some of that activity that we've seen in some of the concerns. The other thing also in a rising interest rate environment is we're hearing people become more active in trying to hedge their floating rate debt, and variety of ways they can do that, but to try to fix their debt in a rising interest rate environment to get more visibility, more control over the variable costs.
So as a major financial institution serving this community, how has Regions changed its business to accommodate what's going on with the Houston ports and the shipping business right now?
Well, we've got a lot of different tools. And one thing that certainly I'm pretty excited about for Regions is we've got a special business unit, transportation and logistics group that's an industry-focused corporate finance group that serves a wide array of companies in all throughout the port infrastructure, rail, leasing, trucking, maritime, logistics, all those sectors. And so I partner with some bankers within that group to focus on the companies here in the market, and try to, again, provide advice and guidance and assist people with their access to capital to support their efforts in those various industries. Regions has also developed a corporate a port strategy, commercial port strategy, and what that is that's it's some marketing efforts to expand our brand awareness, expand the word that we have these tools, we have this expertise, we have this knowledge. We have currently billions of dollars allocated into this space. And so Regions has made a concerted effort, specifically here in Houston, but even more so throughout our footprint, to support companies within that port infrastructure. And so what that's done for me is it's provided me with tools to be able to go out in the market and be able to, again, just try to listen and hear and figure out how I can help companies be more successful.
Right, that's great. What opportunities are there for the Houston's ports and shipping industry right now?
Well, we talk about these supply chain issues, and we talk about some of the log jams. I was just looking at something the other day. It was a picture overhead, a picture of Long Beach, and it showed, again, there are all these ships that are staging and waiting out there. So if you're a manufacturer, and you're shipping something to the United States, and you're trying to fulfill orders, and it's sitting out there, there's uncertainty. And so the opportunities for Houston are, in 2016, the Panama Canal expanded. And what that did is allowed larger ships to go through the Panama Canal and come into the Gulf of Mexico. And so there are opportunities for Houston to increase imports, container imports, and what that'll do for somebody who's shipping cargo from Asia, let's say, is I'm not going to divert 100% of what I'm sending into the West Coast, but maybe I'll divert 10% or 20%. And what that does is that provides some certainty, a little more clarity on when they can get their product to market. And then the folks here, certainly in Texas and the Port of Houston, again, it provides clarity on, hey, if I'm ordering something, let's get it in here. So those are definitely some great opportunities for us. So how is the port trying to meet this demand? Well, currently there is $1 billion that they've put together for Project 11. Project 11. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Hopefully some folks who are participating in this thing have heard about it. But it is a very significant project. What the 11 means is it's literally the 11th project since the origination of the Port of Houston. And so what this is going to do is it's going to deepen and widen the ship channel, literally from Galveston Bay all the way to the end of our ship channel, which is the turning basin, 52 miles. And what it's going to do is it's going to expand it from 530 feet wide to 700 feet wide. And why that's important is because there are hundreds of vessel movements throughout the day. What people don't understand about the port is there are a lot of chemical terminals, a lot of barge movements. So what this does by widening and deepening is it just allows for much safer passage.
Sure.
And so when there's safer passage, we can get ships in and out much more effectively, help reduce some of the bottlenecks that are currently in place, and just increase the ability for more commerce to come in.
It's hard to imagine for me the Houston port being any bigger. For anybody who's never seen the Port of Houston, it's massive. And I used to live in Houston. I've seen it, and it's just incredible the amount of goods that come in and the ships that come in and go out. It's astonishing to me.
Oh, it is. And just, sorry, I've got just kind of for fun, I'm just grabbing some stats that I printed off. So I apologize for reading, but it's officially ranked the number one U.S. port in foreign waterborne tonnage, number one U.S. port in total foreign and domestic waterborne tonnage, and the number 3 U.S. port in terms of total foreign cargo volume. It's such a valuable part of the Houston economy, the Texas economy, the U.S. economy.
Absolutely.
And so it's really neat to see all the investment that's going on in the port. And it's also, a lot of fun to be part of it.
Yeah, it is a wonderful time to be in Texas. Texas is growing, it seems like, in every sector right now, unlike some regions of the country. So what are some of the major business issues facing the Houston area specifically? And then what is your expectation for the banking industry there?
Mm-hmm. Well, Houston's the 4th largest city in our country, soon to be 3rd. Harris County is the 3rd largest county in the U.S. Houston has the 2nd highest concentration of Fortune 500 companies. And so what does all this mean? It means it's a great business environment. And while these things are good and and positive, what it means is there's also a lot of people here. And people are moving in here on a pretty regular basis. And so what that means is we have traffic issues, we have infrastructure issues. And that's one of the things that I see as one of the biggest challenges that's facing Houston and facing our region. There's certainly, what we talked about before, there's some labor issues and labor pool supply and things of that nature. But that, again, that's just, that seems to be common in a lot of other areas. We're certainly facing that, and that's something we have to overcome. But so that's where I see, especially the infrastructure supporting the port region as something that's a challenge. As far as banking goes,
someone has never experienced traffic in Houston. That's
No, exactly. It's funny, I live in Kingwood, and I say, and I haven't grown up here in Houston, I say, regardless of where you go, it's either going to take you 15 minutes or it's going to take you an hour.
Right. Yeah.
And
I noticed John smiled, so he must be able to hear you.
Really quickly, as far as the banking goes, it's very competitive here.
Yes.
We've got lots of, local, state, regional, national, global banks. And we're all fighting over good business out there. We're all fighting over market share. But if there's one thing that I've learned over my career is that banks are resilient. We adapt. And so that's one of the things as using, the port infrastructure, as that grows, as there are new companies and they have different needs, banks will continue to adapt to meet those needs. Technology is very, very important. Again, you think about all the different things that we can do on our phone with respect to banking now. The technology, the products that banks like Regions can provide our clients so that they have better visibility into how they're collecting their cash, how they're dispersing their cash, allows them to plan better, to be more effective. Those are all the things that will continue to impact banking as the industry continues to grow and evolve.
And that's interesting. I mean, we could do a whole probably conversation about some of the technology involved in banking.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think, John, welcome back to the conversation. I think you can hear everyone now.
Happy to be back. Yeah.
Let's ask you a question about getting to know your financial provider, because this has been a common theme that we've discussed in every session in this conversation. Why is it important for a company to have a bank that understands the ports and the shipping industry specifically?
Well, I think for any company doing business down there, it's important to be partnered up with a bank that is connected to the port, to the shipping industry. They understand it, not just from the Port of Houston, but they understand it from all the various ports around the country, and they can bring you best practices of what they've seen around. And here at Regions Bank, we have a specialty group that does just that, and that's who Philip partners up with any prospect or client companies we have doing business down at the port. Is Regions Bank brings that expertise, that insight into what's going on with the local port here in Houston, expansion projects they may have going on, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's important to partner up with a bank that understands the industry and can bring you those good ideas and solutions to whatever pains you may have. It could be cash flow with Treasury Management. And so, lots of working capital solutions that we can bring through our Treasury Management group. And I could go on and on, Donna, about that, but it's very important to just partner up with a bank that clearly and honestly understands the ports, the shipping, the pain points with that, the challenges to help your business.
Yeah. And Philip did mention that particular group of your bank. Is that a new group?
It's been, I think we formed it about 2 years ago. They're not based here. So see, here's our coverage model, Don. It's a great coverage model. We have Philip Ugalde here in market representing the bank. And he is a phone call away, a car drive away to meet people at the port or out at their businesses. And then Philip has with him a team that specializes, our transportation and shipping group that specializes in just this business and in just this industry. So it's really a coverage approach that Regions Bank is implementing throughout our footprint.
And tell us then, how can company management find the right bank for their situation?
Well, the best way to do that is right here on this live webinar. You've got the bank right here that is the best bank.
Well, there you go.
Partner up with. But outside of that, get involved with the port. Go to some of the luncheons. You'll meet great people like Philip and others from Regions Bank down there. Get to know the officials down at the port. Just engage in that area. But first stop would be Regions Bank if I'm one of those companies.
Philip,
I assume you would probably agree with that answer.
Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's like, as John alluded to, it's really just getting to know us, and that's our job, to get to know them. And, we have to, you hear all the time, I certainly have, when business owners say, it's one of the frustrations about my bank is they don't understand my business, or somebody new comes in 6 months later and they're like, what do you do again? Yeah. And, certainly, I know that can't be fun, especially when, my role, our role is to be an important provider for their capital, give them access to the capital they need to run their business and operate more efficiently. They don't have visibility on their cash, or, they're not going to know how much they can pay for inventory, or, if they can afford a 25 basis point increase in interest rates, or just different things like that. So yeah, our ability to provide the resources to give them more efficiency, visibility on some of those things are extremely important.
Well, and I would add to that, Philip, too, that, Regions Bank is known for, and I have CEOs, owners of businesses, they will call me after we've been into their offices, and Philip and I have recently experienced this. They will call me and say, John, you and Regions Bank really just differentiated yourselves because you do bring this, it's true expertise that you're bringing to my business. And you've also shown that you'll support me through good times, which everybody does, right? But also through the bad times, the challenging times when, maybe getting supplies is not as easy. So I may not be able to pay my payables as quick as I can. So we'll bring in working capital solutions with our Treasury Management team. So it's truly a team coverage, aligning with our partners and bringing some great resolution to pain points for our clients and prospects as well as we build this business out.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked a lot about partnering with customers to bring them the right solutions, but how is that necessarily unique in the industry?
Well, from my perspective, not a lot of banks have specialty groups that focus in on and dedicate themselves to particular industries. They'll have a relationship manager that represents the bank, and he's representing a lot of different industries. And here at Regions, we have multiple specialty groups, not just transportation and shipping. And so when you bring that coverage team, it's not just one person that's talking to a retail company one time and a manufacturer the next, and maybe a port company. It's a dedicated focus, and Philip and our team are dedicated to just that. Philip, you have anything you would add?
No, I mean, I think John hit the nail on the head. I think, again, in fairness, everybody has their own unique way of doing things, and everybody does something well, and maybe everybody does something not so well. But I mean, that's our job to use the tools that we have, the resources that we have. Again, I can't say enough about our transportation logistics group and how valuable they are to me to help me, cover the market successfully. And so it's just, it's a matter of using those resources and doing whatever we can to support our clients.
Donna, we see our winning percentages go up dramatically when we bring in specialty groups. Yeah. We win a lot of business with that.
I'm sure you do. I hate to digress too far from shipping because that's the focus of today's conversation, but do you care to share what some of those other groups are, the specialty groups?
Sure. Healthcare, tech and defense, government, institutional banking, real estate. We've got a real estate initiative. Philip, who else am I? I feel like I'm missing.
Media and telecommunications is another one. Financial services is another one that we have. And so, for somebody like me who's in a market like Houston, I referenced the diversity. Again, not to divert too much away from the port, but we have second highest concentration of Fortune 500 companies. A lot of, and I'll use the word again, food chain to support. A lot of the manufacturing. Houston's, it's a city that never sleeps. You go driving around at, not that I do necessarily anymore, but you go driving around at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it almost seems like there's almost always traffic. There are always cars moving. And so there's a lot of manufacturing things going on. And so it's nice going out in the market here, knowing that, okay, is it in the port infrastructure industry? Is this a company that develops software? Is this a company that, has a large commercial real estate project? Is this a financial services, a fintech company? Just a number of different industries, and I can, maybe I know enough to be dangerous, but I can tap the resources that I have within Regions that do take more of a laser focus on that industry and be able to provide even greater value.
And you mentioned some of those industries like healthcare and so many as you rolled through. They're all undergoing unprecedented change right now. I mean, I imagine it is difficult for you to almost keep up and to reorganize and refocus to meet the unique demands that they may have at a time like this. Houston has enormous amount of healthcare industry.
It does, Donna, but these specialty groups, that's what they live in day in and day out, right? So it's not so difficult for them to pivot, adjust, change paradigms, et cetera. When payment systems, for example, may change in the healthcare with insurance. The other one we didn't mention is franchise lending. We have a big initiative in franchise lending.
You've mentioned too Treasury Management quite often. How critical is that role in all of those industries that you have?
Oh, listen, so a company's cash flow is key, right? They need cash to keep going. And so we have just a shelf of different products and services to address just about every need any business, any industry would have from their cash flow needs. So typically what we'll come in and do is we'll just analyze your working capital. We'll look at cash flow, and then we will come back and see where there may be some bottlenecking in your cash flows, your inflows, your outflows, and we'll come back with solutions for that. So yeah, that's a big, very proud of our treasury management team and the offerings there.
So say I am a business executive, I'm watching this webinar, and I want to learn a little bit more about banking information. Where can an executive turn to get that kind of
They can turn to Philip Ugalde, or they can call me.
1-800-CALL Philip.
That's right.
That's it.
I like it. Well, gentlemen, is there anything else that we have not touched on today that you would like to discuss regarding the ports and shipping, particularly as it pertains to Houston?
You know, Donna, I missed part of it, unfortunately, just because of connectivity issues. But I would just say, you know, think of Regions Bank when you're talking about doing business down at the port. We have a very big initiative down there. We're very, very involved, and that's a growing involvement. Houston is a growth market for Houston. A lot of investment going on here in the bank, in people, in systems, in products, equipment, etc. And so I would want to leave everybody to think of Regions Bank. We're growing. We take your business serious, and would love to do business with you.
Anything else to add to that, Philip?
You know, what I talked a little bit about before is you know, the awareness of how important the port region is to the local economy, and we as a bank cannot be successful, definitely not as successful as we want to be in this market. We can't grow and expand the way that we want to without a commitment to the port region, and that's something that we've done. We have resources behind it. You know, we have specialty groups supporting our efforts, and so just very excited about Regions and the resources that I have behind me in order to focus in on that segment.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us today. And I also want to thank those online who have joined us for this conversation. I really learned a lot, particularly about the ports, and I really appreciate the time in terms of my own education. Very eye-opening.
Thank you, Donna. We enjoyed it as well.
And
yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. We hope everybody will join us for next week's discussion. That is about wealth considerations for Texas business owners. And we will be talking with Chris Cooper, who's an area wealth executive with Regions, and we understand he's also a barbecue aficionado. So we'll quiz him about best recipes for brisket next week. Sound good, guys?
That sounds great.
Yeah, making me hungry.
Oh, yeah, I'm hungry too. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Stay warm out there.
Thank you all. Be safe, everybody.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.